It's fair to say that we all have our perspectives that we hold dear. These perspectives make us who we are, and we will reasonably change them in the face of overwhelming evidence in the contrary. Some perspectives are held because, as far as we're concerned, they're unshakable truths that are undeniable, and they lay out the foundation for how we exist and how we should live. Or at least some of us believe this. For some people, a simple back and forth conversation is all it takes for us to admit we were wrong. Other people, it might be a confrontation that thoroughly embarrasses us in front of our friends and family. Others are so unbelievably hard-headed, it might take placing ourselves in a life or death situation that might even leave us disabled for life to admit we were wrong. The perspectives we entangle ourselves in are tools for creating some of the most evil people and some of the most kind people we couldn't imagine. Let's get into some examples, shall we? So, the trolley scenario is a very famous scenario played out as a means to test people's morality, if you will. If you're not familiar with this, a train or a trolley is barreling down the train tracks and there are two paths it can take, but there's no time to stop it, and so the trolley has to take one course, and you have the lever to change the trolley's course. This is important because there are people tied to each set of tracks. Normally, one track has a greater number of people than the other tracks. So it's quite simple really. You can either do nothing and just let the trolley continue its course and it will kill somebody or a group of people, or you can allow the trolley to go to a different course by using the lever and it will kill a different set of people. The blood is on your hands, if you will, whether you do something or not. So, let's say there are 4 people on the track the trolley is going down and 1 person on the alternate tracks you can have the trolley change course to. Are you immoral if you do nothing at all? Or are you immoral for making the choice to let the tracks continue on its current path, running over the 1 person because you prioritized 4 lives over 1? Perhaps there's an argument to say that neither of those decisions are immoral. At this point in the conversation, the normal thing to do is to also add modifiers to the scenario. So how about this? What if the 4 people on the other tracks are convicts and the 2 people are children? Well, now you have to save the children, right? Well, how about if the 1 person is a doctor and the 4 people are dentists, and the modifiers continue, even like changing the variation of how many people are on each set of tracks, so on and so forth. At this point in the conversation, some people would try to play neutral and say there isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer, but I think most people would scoff at that and very proudly make a decision over one of the two and go on to rationalize why their decision is the correct and moral decision. And I'm sure many of us have already had this conversation about the trolley scenario and are fully aware of what it is. For me personally, I would say that this is exactly what people do. One decision is clearly better than the other, or they purposely make a brain teaser where one is really difficult and pretty much impossible. Frankly, I think that's what makes this trolley scenario so iconic. There is no stupid, oh, well, what if I just went and saved them? You can't. You have to make a decision. It's one or the other. So there is great weight in the decision you made and why. If you want to be a coward and just do absolutely nothing because you're too scared to have the responsibility, well, that's a decision too. So you can even choose to just not do anything and justify, hey, well, I prioritize the people on the other tracks, so I'm gonna let this trolley just run over the people on the current set of tracks. Oh, well, this scenario is poison because killing is wrong, and if you do nothing, then you're killing someone. If you don't do anything, then you're killing someone. Well, how about if one set of tracks had your mom and your sister, and the other one had your dad and your brother? The possibilities with this scenario between outright hilarity and complete seriousness are pretty much infinite, so that's why this is so great. How about a change of pace? I'm a huge fan of Blue Lock, and I'm sure there are others listening that are too. There's a point in the show when the director of the Blue Block program, Jinpachi Ego, goes over the game that the main character, Isagi, had just lost. He gives this very important speech on luck, and he doesn't do some boring presentation or just simply discuss the definition of luck. He paints the perfect picture of what luck is. It's showing up. You can be at the precise location at the right time, and a bird craps on you, and that is, well, I guess misfortune more specifically. But when you're at a job you love and look back at the moment you found that job's post, or when you think back to when you met your husband or your wife, and you think of a goal you made in football, if we're going back to Blue Lock, luck isn't a coincidence that favors you because you simply deserved it, or things just happened because they happen, or maybe you obsessed over this thought so things just manifested. That's not a thing. No, so-called luck is true impact, and that's what makes it special. It's a series of quick, calculated decisions that put you at the right place at the right time because it was your will and it was your obsession in the moment. The answer is always the same. You're at the right place at the right time. But that's not the full answer, not even close. You see, Luck is putting yourself out there, and when an opportunity presents itself, you take it and make the best of the position you placed yourself in. And like the trolley scenario, the context of the situation and why you made the decision, in this case, the decision to be there, makes all the absolute difference in the world. Also like the trolley scenario, it's so easy to tweak events to make or break the importance of said event. Why is it that you got the promotion at work and nobody else did? Your partner dated people before you and maybe they've even been married already, but you made it work. You're actively making it work. Why is that? Because when you placed yourself in the right place at the right time to decide what you were going to do, you made the difference and succeeded. And that's why it's called luck when you were there, but it merely amounted to misfortune when others tried to do what you did. And success isn't always in the moment, sometimes it's an impact that you look back on. So when you're doing well and you're thinking, well, how did I end up here? Well then, hopefully enough time has passed where you can reflect on your decisions and you can say for certain of whether it was luck or not. And not this stupid idea of luck that some people have, where things just kind of fall out of the sky and land on your lap and everything just kind of works out almost like a Christmas miracle. No, I mean real impactful luck that you can be proud of. Maybe you didn't have complete control of everything, but you at least had an idea of what you needed to do to get to where you needed to be at. And so when an opportunity presented itself, you were there, ready to go. Time to switch gears again. My last video was about Fallout New Vegas, and I discussed a character that made me see the meaning of life. And I know that sounds super corny and just ridiculous as a whole. What do you mean a video game character made you see the meaning of life? But I'm actually being dead serious here. But frankly, I think this character's story is very important, so might be worth checking out that video. Anyways, in New Vegas, there are wholesome perspectives like that, and other perspectives might absolutely repulse you. To once again explain Fallout lore, in New Vegas, you are caught in the middle of a war between the NCR and Caesar's Legion. The NCR is an organization that is rebuilding the republic the United States was once built upon. This is taking place 210-ish years after a nuclear Armageddon completely ended the world. So, the NCR takes claims to territories that were parts of the now wasteland. These people that reside in NCR territories become official citizens that have to pay taxes. They have I say loosely, formal military. They have ambassadors, they have a president, they even have their own currency. In post-apocalyptia, we have the chance to experience the American dream once again, 210-ish years after it died. Except this brick house stands on a glass foundation once again. President Tandy was the second president of the NCR, and she remained president for 52 years. So, going back to those territories that the NCR takes, if it wasn't already obvious, these territories the NCR takes are sometimes communities of people just trying to survive. So when the NCR rolls up and tells them they have to pay taxes and they are now NCR citizens, all they can really do is nod their heads and start using NCR dollars and coins to pay said taxes instead of bottle caps, which is the universal currency of the game. By the events of New Vegas, the former general and now President Kimball has expanded quickly into Nevada and taken Hoover Dam, which means the NCR is spread too thin and can no longer defend the territories they claim. In taking Hoover Dam, they've also made mortal enemies of Caesar's Legion, a group that is a collection of 86 tribes. This was accomplished by Caesar helping one tribe defeat their warring tribe, then allowing the survivors to live if they joined him. This process being repeated with the other 84 tribes, and by this point in New Vegas, Caesar's Legion is now modeled after the Roman Empire. But anyways, the NCR are fighting Caesar's Legion and protecting what used to be Las Vegas. But despite being spread so thin and not being able to protect anyone, citizens are still forced to pay insane amounts of taxes to a war they never asked for, and never mind if some of these people were made to be citizens by force. And more NCR soldiers are being killed off by the daily dangers of the Mojave Wasteland on top of constant skirmishes with the Legion. And to really drive the point home with the NCR's position, they may have won the first battle of Hoover Dam against the Legion, but make no mistake, they are completely on the defensive and they are being drained of resources the longer they stay in Nevada, which is also why they can never manage counterattacks. The world had already ended over 200 years ago in part because of the United States, so perhaps it's fair to say we already understand any republic that is constructed at this point is doomed to fail. And we, the player, see this in real time. Overall, as a player, especially a player in a role-playing game, you're death incarnate. And this can mean you're the devil himself or you're God. and it's only so often that people choose to be anything in between. At any rate, even if you choose to help the NCR completely and totally, you do solve a huge chunk of their problems, but even after that, there are still greater implications of corruption that take place outside the game. The Legion, on the other hand, are sexist marauders that enslave people and put people in chains and on crosses for punishment. I mentioned the other 85 tribes forcefully joining Caesar, but no, I mean actual slaves. If you're a woman and you're pretty enough, you'll be lucky enough to be an officer's wife, and that's if you're lucky. The Legion also has far more territory throughout the former United States, but you want to know what they don't have? Territory disputes. As a raider in the Mojave, I can attack the NCR, and at the worst, they'll put me in a prison that eventually gets overrun, assuming I don't die in the initial attack. If I get captured by the Legion though, again, I get put on a cross or I become a slave. So I'm picking on the NCR every single time. They're far smaller and they can't defend themselves anyways. And all this New Vegas lore dump has been brought to you to say New Vegas teaches us something that's easy to forget about humanity. We can tell ourselves we're good people, but when the world gets reset to zero, possibly because of a nuclear Armageddon, we will all go back to the things that society needed to survive and prosper. Historically, that's killing, and for the groups that become empires or countries, they eventually turn to slavery. And to try to help out New Vegas here, I'm going to expand on this point a little bit. What happens if we bump into each other on the road and I decide to punch you in the face? There are a ton of different things that you can do in response. This ranges to we both fight each other and then maybe we just get a couple of bruises and just walk away, or you can just shoot and kill me, right? Well, if you shoot me because I punched you in the face, then you get punished by the law because that was excessive deadly force. Let's say we start fighting each other and you win the fight and your anger gets the best of you and you just kept going and pummeling me. Well, now I'm in the ER and I have broken ribs. My skull is fractured. You broke my arm. Once again, you will be punished by the law and sent to prison because you used excessive force. The point is, overall, the judicial system is here in order to keep us in certain refinement. In modern society, we can't just hurt people and possibly kill them because our feelings got hurt. Given the overall judicial system and the police force we have in first world countries, we're forced to depend on these systems whether we like it or not. So our moral structure has to work with this system, or at the very least, around it. On the other hand, if we're in post-apocalyptia and all that's gone, I can't trust that you're not going to kill me because you feel like it, because maybe you had a bad day, because maybe you decided whatever I had in my backpack was worth fighting over. And so being in a post-apocalyptic world where you will easily receive zero consequences for your actions in murdering me, it's not immoral for me to defend myself and kill you because you were very likely going to kill me for the resources you thought I had. Regardless of this, can we say slavery is wrong even when your life depends on it? Absolutely. For millions of years, humans have died on their moral hills. But at the end of the day, the Legion is so insanely brutal, nobody dares step to them in their territories. The NCR, on the other hand, they're fair game by everyone's standards. The raider fiends that constantly attack Camp McCarran, the powder gangers that are escaped NCR convicts, the tribes of the New Vegas Strip, including Mr. House. When we are reduced to our basic instincts with no safety net when it comes to our survival, New Vegas eerily implies that maybe there's a reason for slavery. And that's insane, right? Well, in our modern day society with several generations to carry us to what is now the first world living, it's easy to vomit at the thought of slavery. But you take away something as important as people's safety, it's easy to believe that premise of morality dissipates immediately. And that is the power of nuance and perspective. Again, you don't simply tell people that there are times when slavery works, and you definitely don't tell them that slavery is okay or dare say good. You paint the perfect picture. You set a full scope of events that detail a hopeless situation, and when nothing more can be done, you show an alternative. The alternative that works. You meet at the middle ground where you healthily admit it's not perfect. You show it's still not a world people want to live in, but you show that in some messed up ways, it works. That one was much heavier, but last one. I'm a small YouTuber now, and I would love nothing more than to have an audience that is interested and appreciates my perspective. But I don't have a metric for this success. I know I'm not interested in being famous because attracting a crowd of people is certainly not my thing. I also understand I don't need to have millions of subscribers because that doesn't mean I'm successful either. I can easily admit that my videos are pretty low effort content. And with the few videos that I do have, admittingly, the topics are kind of all over the place. But I do this to establish that I'm interested in cultivating an audience that cares about what I have to say, that cares about my perspective. I want to make the difference. Since this is basically a gaming channel, I suppose I could be that person that just gets 50 kills in every PUBG match, but when you cultivate an audience that watches you for what you do as opposed to watching you for who you are, especially in gaming, at some point, the game gets boring, the game becomes old news, people want to move on from the game, and if you're not just chasing the high of a brand new game to continue to attract an audience, then guess what? Everyone immediately loses interest in you and moves on to the next person. What I do know is, I just want to be comfortable enough to do YouTube full time, and I know if I could do that, that is success. I've been watching people make videos for well over a decade, and I was there when iDubbbz was popular. I was there when EDP445 had the correct and righteous version of cancel culture inflicted upon him. I was there to see Mr. Beast become a household name. But becoming a YouTuber, seeing what it's like to try and attract an audience, make videos, and try to guess at what people respond to when you start at the complete bottom, it has been extremely eye-opening for me in my brief time as a YouTuber. It changes your focus, which is the most important thing when it comes to perspective, because it's focus that determines what you retain. And what do I mean by that? Remember how this started? I was talking about the Trolley Scenario. Then I brought up Blue Lock, and then I talked about Fallout New Vegas for like 30,000 years. Now I'm talking about what it's like to be a small YouTuber. This comes at the risk of losing people's focus, and they click on something else. Some people probably stopped watching because the Trolley Scenario is boring. Maybe they clicked off because they thought I was implying slavery is okay, which I obviously wasn't. Maybe they just decided they have more interesting stuff to watch, and that's okay though, because we all have our different perspectives, and we use those different perspectives to focus on different things. I'm not under any delusion whatsoever that I can attract everyone's attention, or that I should, or that I'm entitled to it. Maybe my videos just aren't high enough production value. Maybe you just don't like my voice. Maybe you just think I'm boring. Maybe you just completely and utterly disagree with me as a person. These are all very valid reasons, but my perspective told me it's worth starting a YouTube channel because there are people out there that are interested in the videos that I want to make, that I have self-awareness and I learn through trial and error. So long as I continue to improve my videos, people will eventually be interested in this spectacle of a YouTube channel. And the concept of that perspective of essentially gaining compound interest by making more and more videos and entertaining you guys is why I can look at a video with 100,000 views as a spectator and think, oh, that's not bad, but that's not great either. Then I can make a video that I put hours of my life into, watch it get less than 100 views, and think, man, that's awesome. And I'm so grateful that many people watched my video. Perspective is a funny thing, isn't it? You can tell someone something they already know, and it just takes the right person to tell the same story in the way you like it. Thanks for watching, and until next time.